Hi everyone and a warm welcome to our channel. I hope you're doing well. Studies and preparations are going on. In continuation to our revision series that is happening in complete English, we are going to talk about chapter number 3, that is your place of supply. Chapter number 1 and chapter number 2 have been uploaded. A separate playlist has been created. Ensure you're watching those before moving on to next chapters. And let's start with place of supply. Okay, place of supply chapter, the provisions are dealt which we are going to be dealing with are basically of IGST Act, not of CGST Act. In paper, always ensure that whenever you are quoting any section or rule, you have to mention whether you are quoting that of CGST or IGST. If you just write section number 10, then the examiner may not know whether you are talking about the composition scheme that is of CGST section number 10 or IGST section number 10, right? So that is the point you need to take care of if you have to be technically correct. Okay, first try to understand what is the significance of place of supply as to why understanding and determining the place of supply is important, because on the basis of place of supply, we are going to analyze whether the transaction is an intrastate transaction or an interstate transaction. Intrastate transaction means the location of the supplier and place of supply is in one state or union territory, and interstate means it is in different states or different union territories or one state and one union territory. For that, section number 7 and 8 will come in this chapter only, right? So significance is clear. Brief overview, the first four sections that we are going to do basically with respect to determination of place of supply is section number 10, 11, 12 and 13. Section number 10 deals with respect to supply which is happening in India. 11 deals with export import transaction. Basically 10 and 11 are with respect to goods and 12 and 13 are with respect to services. Section number 12 talks about that place of supply when the supplier and recipient both are in India, and section number 13 deals with the situation when supplier or recipient are in India. Point to be noted. Or sir, what happens if supplier and recipient are outside India? Then obviously we are not going to talk about that in India. If supplier is in US and recipient is in UK, why the hell are we going to analyze the place of supply? It is irrelevant for Indian jurisdiction, right? So here we have to focus on the word or. Okay, let's proceed. Section number 10, place of supply of goods other than import export, because that we will be dealing in section number 11. Let's start. Section number 10, subsection 1, there are 5 or I should say 6 specific clauses because one is an amendment. Section number 10, subsection 1, clause A, supply involves the movement of goods. If the movement of goods is involved, now it is irrelevant as to who is causing the movement. If movement of goods is involved, then the place of supply shall be that location where where this movement is terminated for delivery to the recipient. So if goods are moved from Delhi to Mumbai, then Maharashtra will be the place of supply. Short breaks are not considered as termination. This termination is the full and final termination of the movement of goods. If B, we will cover later. 10(1)(c), no movement of goods. If there is no movement of goods involved, then place of supply shall be the location of goods at the time of delivery to the recipient. Example, machine on lease purchased. Or we can take another example. Let's say this building is on rent and there is an AC which is situated, the air conditioner which is situated, and I took the building on rent along with the AC. Now let's say tomorrow I bought this building along with the AC. So AC ownership was also transferred. Supply of AC also took place. Did this supply involve any kind of movement with respect to the air conditioner? Answer is no. This is as it is where it was before the purchase transaction. So this location, Pune, Maharashtra, will be the place of supply because there is no movement of goods. I hope this is clear. There are certain instances in this chapter wherein we have to go for examples of the ICI that I will be taking you to the ICI material. Please don't worry. 10(1)(ca), this was an amendment for May 24. Focus on this. This can be tested. OTC, that is the over-the-counter sale to unregistered person. Just like you go to a shop and you buy something, you are an unregistered person, you go for buying something. Now, if the address of unregistered person, that is you, that is the recipient, if it is recorded on invoice, then place of supply is that location. If not, the place of supply is the location of supplier. Basically, in Hindi we say "Tir ghuma ke wapas." Basically, the location will be back to the location of supplier. So, in case of OTC, this will be given in your exam whether it is an OTC sale or not. In that case, you have to focus and try to analyze the fact whether the recipient's location is available on record of invoice or not. Next, 10(1)(d), goods assembled or installed at site, then the place of supply shall be the place of such installation or assembly. Let's say there is some machine which requires installation at the client place. Client place happens to be, let's say, Uttar Pradesh, then the place of supply will be UP, right? Next, 10(1)(e), goods supplied on board a conveyance, let's say vessel, aircraft, train, motor vehicle, any kind of conveyance, and if goods are supplied on that conveyance, then the place of supply shall be the location at which goods are taken on board, because practically we cannot try and we cannot analyze before each and every supply as to where that conveyance is. Let's say there is an Indigo flight flying from Delhi to Mumbai. Now we cannot analyze each and every passenger as to who is consuming meal at what time, at what place, below that place which city is situated. It is not possible. So with respect to that conveyance, wherever the goods are taken on board, let's say they are taken on board at Delhi airport, then in that case Delhi will be the place of supply. If they are taken in between somewhere, let's say at Mumbai airport, then Mumbai will be the place of supply, meaning which? Maharashtra. One important point to be noted: whenever we talk about GST, we have to focus on state-wise answers, right? You cannot say the place of supply will be Mumbai. You can say, but comma, Maharashtra. You have to give the state because the GST registration is state-wise. Okay. Next, 10(1)(b), bill to ship to model. This is one of the areas where there are a lot of queries. Please understand this properly. First, we will give this a brief read. This is your bare act and this has been given in your material, but then we will focus on the example that I have given. Okay. Where the goods are delivered by supplier to a recipient, S means supplier, R means recipient, or any other person on the direction of a third person, whether acting as an agent or otherwise. So there is some third person, and basically we can say that there are three parties being involved. Okay, and this delivery is happening and before or during the movement of goods, either by way of transfer of documents of title or otherwise. So basically the goods delivery was happening, but there is some transfer of documents on the basis and on the directions of a third person. Then it shall be deemed that the said third person has received the goods and place of supply shall be the place of business of such person. Now sir, we haven't understood even a single thing. Very cool, very okay. Don't worry, let's understand this particular example. After that, the place of supply of bill to ship to model will be absolutely clear. Okay, let's see. Let's take an example. Three parties, Mr. Ramesh, this is our third party that we are referring to in this particular case. This is Mr. Gupta ji from Delhi and this is me, Siddhesh, Pune, right? So what happened was there are basically two supplies that are taking place in bill to ship to model, and there are three parties. Mr. Ramesh, that is the third party of UP, has bought certain goods from Gupta ji. Now, while the goods were being sent or before sending, I bought those goods from Mr. Ramesh, and now Mr. Ramesh called Gupta ji and said, goods which I purchased from you, I have sold to Siddhesh Pune, kindly send it to him. So basically Gupta ji is not concerned with me. Gupta ji is concerned with Mr. Ramesh, and because on the basis of directions of Mr. Ramesh, Gupta will send the goods to me. Right? So second supply is between me and Gupta ji, me and Mr. Ramesh, and first supply is between Mr. Ramesh and Gupta ji. Now tell me one thing. Is there any kind of supply or any kind of link between Siddhesh and Gupta ji? Answer is no. He just happens to be delivering me the goods. I don't care who is delivering the goods. I am concerned with Mr. Ramesh. Mr. Ramesh is concerned with me and Siddhesh, but Siddhesh and Gupta ji are not concerned with each other. Is it clear? Now, this is supply number 1. This is supply number 2. This supply number 1 will be determined as per section number 10 subsection B, that is with respect to bill to ship to model, and this supply number 2 will be dealt with section number 10 subsection 1 clause number A, because movement of goods is happening. Okay, now in case of section 10 subsection 1 clause A, when movement of goods happens, the place of supply shall be the location where the goods movement terminates. So in this case, place of supply shall be Pune, because the goods are being sent to Pune. With respect to 10(1)(b), we just now studied about place of supply shall be the place of business of the third party, that is UP. I hope this is clear now. If you feel there is any query whatsoever, whatever notes you are referring to or above, you can just pause the video, read this once, and then again review this particular example. 99.9% sure, 99.9% all your queries will be resolved. If there is any query whatsoever, you can reach out to me. Okay, I will help you clarify. Okay, now let's come to section number 11, place of supply of goods in case of import export. If the goods are imported, now first, before moving ahead, let's first understand basic meanings of import export of goods and services. See, with respect to goods, the definitions are very simple, because this is the physical movement happening. Issue comes when we try to analyze services. Okay, definitions and technically you can see later, but let's now first understand the actual meaning of import export of goods. See, import of goods means bringing goods from outside India to India, as simple as that. Export of goods means sending away the goods, movement of goods from India to outside India. As simple as that. In case of goods, the definitions are not at all technical. In case of services, the definition is technical because services are intangible in nature. Hence, control and conditions are more when we talk about services. Now, first understand export of services and then understand import of services. Amongst these two also, export of services is comparatively more comprehensive and there are 5 conditions attached to it. Point number 1, supplier location should be in India. When export of services is happening, a supplier location should be in India. Place of supply should be outside India. Location of recipient should be outside India. 4th, I am covering. First, let's cover 5th. And the supplier and recipient should not be merely establishments of the same person, that we will cover later in section number 8 as well. Now, the 4th condition is the most important condition with respect to payment. See, whenever we say something is an export of service, government is going to attach a payment condition. Why? Because government wants that if we are giving the benefits of export of services, export of service benefits are going to be given, it will be a zero rated supply that you already know. You have an idea. So with respect to export of services, there is a payment condition attached. So government says we need the payment in convertible foreign currency exchange or INR wherever RBI permits. So for example, there are some relaxations with respect to Nepal, Bhutan, where INR is permitted. So unless permitted otherwise, you have to earn foreign exchange for India. Unless and until you earn foreign exchange for India, it won't be an export of service. So these are 5 conditions attached with respect to export of services. Import of services, only 3 conditions are attached. Why? We are not concerned with the payment condition. Why? Because that is going to negatively impact the government of India if it attaches the payment condition, because foreign exchange will be used in this case. Export earns foreign exchange, import uses foreign exchange. So here the conditions are supplier should be outside India, recipient should be in India, and place of supply should be in India. These are the basic 3 conditions. This topic you can cover from the definitions, but this is the main area that you need to focus upon, that I have also covered comprehensively. Okay. Let's move ahead a bit. Section number 11, that is your place of supply of goods in import and export. In case of import of goods, the place of supply shall be the location of the importer. Basically, that state is going to get the GST. If let's say I am from Maharashtra and I am importing certain goods, who is going to basically, what kind of tax will be charged? We already covered in the charge definition in the chapter number 2 that this will be considered, import is considered as an interstate transaction. So IGST is going to be levied. Who is going to pay IGST? I am going to pay IGST. But when I pay IGST, the credit will go to which state? Half will go to central government, half will go to the state where I am registered. That's why it's important to analyze and fix this place of supply. So in this case, the portion of state is going to go to Maharashtra government because the consumption of goods is happening in Maharashtra. And when the goods are exported from India, the place of supply shall be the location outside India. Now you may have a query, sir, why didn't you say that location of the exporter? Because with respect to GST law, now we don't care what is that exact state. The person who is importing from India, he may be in US, he may be in UK, he may be in Australia, we don't care. For us, the place of supply is outside India. Which state, what state, we don't care. It matters when it is an import transaction because GST is going to be distributed to that particular state. Okay, so we will not name any country, or rather not any state. Hope this is clear. Section 11 is a plain section, not many questions are asked. Now, section number 12 and 13 are extremely important, and most probably your questions are going to be asked from section number 12 and 13. Let's talk about section 12 first. Place of supply of services when the location of supplier and recipient is in India. So your supplier as well as recipient are in India. If this gets converted into, or let's say supplier is in India, recipient is outside India, or vice versa, then section 13 will come into action, not section number 12. Okay, let's start. I am going to be using these 2 terms, B2B, B2C, that I hope you already know. B2B means business to business, so registered to registered transaction. B2C means registered to unregistered transaction. Okay, let's start. Section number 12, subsection 1. Basic applicability of this section is when the location of supplier and recipient are in India. Default provisions. Now please understand, section number 12 after subsection 1 has 14 subsections. Out of those 14 subsections, subsection 3 to subsection 14 are specific subsections. Specific subsection means the case that we are going to be covering are specific situations. If a case does not fall in any of the specific subsections, it will fall under section number 12 subsection 2, that is the default provisions. Okay, so let's start. Place of supply of services except those covered under subsection 3 to 14. These are our specific cases. Hence, this is our default. Okay. So if the transaction is the B2B transaction, then the place of supply shall be the location of recipient, which is a registered business. If it is a B2C transaction, meaning which a transaction by a GST registered person to someone who is unregistered, now you have to check two conditions. First, basically a question you have to ask, that does address on record exist of the recipient? If yes, that location will be the place of supply. If not, we will say tir ghuma ke wapas. Basically, we don't have any other location. So in that case, the place of supply shall be the location of supply. Meaning which, if it is a B2C transaction, ask if the location of recipient exists on record of supplier. On record means basically my books, my records, right? If yes, that location will be the place of supply. If no, then location of supplier will be the place of supply. Okay, can I move ahead? Yes, section number 12, subsection 3. Now we are starting with the specific cases. Okay, specific case number 1 related to immutable property. Now, any service associated with immutable property, it can be giving the property on rent, it can be architecture service, it can be interior designing, it can be building or construction of immutable property, it can be decoration, painting, renovation, anything which is associated with immutable property. Okay, so you can read it here. Any service directly in relation to the property, namely architect, interior designer, surveyor, engineer, real estate agent who are selling the properties, grant of right to use, giving on rent, etc. Accommodation by a hotel, inn, guest house, homestay, club, campsite, houseboat, vessel. These are also associated with stay and they are associated and linked to immovable property. Accommodation in any property for organizing marriage, reception, official, social, cultural, business functions and related services. So what can be an example of related services? Example, DJ with respect to marriage function happening. So again, these all accommodations with respect to any function, these are also associated to the immutable property. Any other ancillary service basically linked to above 3. Example, DJ, example, lighting, example, decoration, event management, all those are associated, not event management will be covered later, but all those which are associated with the physical immutable property, the place of supply shall be the location of the immutable property or the wherever it is intended to be located. Now, you may have a query that what do you mean by intended to be located? Let's take a simple example. Let's take a simple example. If let's say a person is hired for designing a plan, he's an architect, so he is hired for designing a plan with respect to a property which is not yet established, but it is planned to be established in Gurgaon sector number 24. Or let's say whatever it is, you can take any location, right? So now currently that property is not located there because it is in the contemplation stage as to we are going to design it and then we are going to build it. So in this case, the architect service, the place of supply will be the location where the property is intended to be located because in future it is going to be located there. Right? Now, let's take an example. If the location or intended location happens to be outside India, government will lose the GST. Why? Because place of supply will move outside India. So government and the GST law very smartly puts in a small proviso and says that if this location happens to be outside India, the place of supply shall be the location of the recipient, not the actual location. You can read it here. If the location of the property or boat or vessel is located or intended to be located outside India, now to avoid the GST loss of government, the place of supply shall be the location of recipient, and this kind person is always in India because section applicable only when both are in India. I hope this is clear. This is a smart provision, but try to learn the logics rather than rectification. Now, this is our student Pinku. Pinku says, yes, I asked Pinku that what is your query? Why do you seem so confused? He says, sir, I have an issue in my mind. I asked him as to explain what the issue is so that we can resolve the query. What if the immutable property or boat or vessel is located in more than one state or UT? Query seems to be very legit. Let's say there is a property which is spanning on the border of Delhi, Haryana. What to do in that case? Let's say there is a boat or vessel which is crossing different states' water or whatever that water body is. What to do in that case? Which state will get the GST? Because as soon as you fix the place of supply to be one state, that state is going to get the GST portion of the taxes. Okay, now see. The supply of services in that case shall be treated as made in each of the respective states or union territories in proportion to the value of services separately corrected or determined as per the terms of contract or agreement entered in this PR. So basically what the law is saying, that each of the state which is involved in the transaction, let's say Delhi, Haryana, whatever it is, every state will have the place of supply. But to the what extent? Let's say there is a 10 lakh rupee value. The total of the entire transaction is, let's say, 10 lakh. So how will we distribute 10 lakh in 2 or 3 states? For that, the law says that you have to apportion it as per the contract or agreement terms. But what if such contract or agreement is absent, or it does not contain the terms for such bifurcation? Then in that case, we have to apply rule number 4 of IGST rules. Now, let's see what rule number 4 says. Type of service, and then we will see the factor for bifurcation. I hope you are able to understand what are we trying to achieve. There is one transaction which is involving 2 or more states or union territories. The value of transaction is 10 lakh. The 10 lakh rupees needs to be divided into each particular state, because on that division and on that bifurcation, GST is going to be charged, and that portion will be given to the government. But now the question is, that's a contract or arrangement is silent. Now how to divide that 10 lakh? So we are going to use some factor for the basis of bifurcation. Now let's see 3 cases. Case number 1. Loading accommodation by hotel, inn, etc. plus its ancillary services. If the case is of some kind of a hotel, some kind of a inn, some kind of a campsite, some kind of a guest room, then in that case, if it is not a single property located in 2 or more contiguous states, basically the property is different. 2 states are involved, but individually the property is different. Then in that case, you determine and you bifurcate the value as per number of nights stayed in such property. Let's say the property is in 2 states, but the property is separate. In Delhi, I stayed 2 nights. In Chandigarh or whatever, Haryana, whatever it is, you stayed, let's say, 3 nights. So in that case, 2:3 will be the bifurcation ratio. If other than this was the case when it was not a single property. But what if it is a single property located in 2 or more states? So if I'm staying in a hotel, I'm practically staying in that entire unit, because it is not 2 separate units. Then you have to divide as per the area of the property lying in each state. So let's say it is a 10,000 square, whatever it is, any unit you can take. Out of 10,000 units, let's say 8,000 is in one state and 2,000 is in another state, where I stayed and spent, let's say, 5 lakh rupees. So 5 lakh will be divided into 8:2 ratio. Okay, so because the number of nights cannot be the basis of bifurcation, because the property is one and same only. If we are talking about accommodation in a houseboat or a vessel which is on water plus its related ancillary services, here you have to divide on the basis of time spent by the boat or vessel in each state. Now you may have a query that how are we going to determine the time spent, because when you are going and living, you are not going to focus on time spent, right? So this time spent is given by the declaration of the service provider. So whosoever is operating that houseboat, he is going to give the declaration that out of, let's say, 3 days tour, 3 days stay in the houseboat, 2 days were spent in let's say Mumbai, and 1 day was spent in, let's say, whatever the other state is. Okay, for this you can cover 3 examples. I will help you cover those. Let's see. A hotel chain X charges a consolidated sum of 30,000 for stay in 2 establishments in Delhi and Agra. Now please pay attention, this is an immovable property case, so we are going to apply section number 12 subsection 3, and 2 states are involved, Delhi and Agra. Now as per rule, we have to first of all see contract arrangement, but because that is absent, we have to apply rule number 4. For rule number 4, your first attention and first you have to find the fact whether these are 2 separate properties or not. Okay. See, where the stay in Delhi is for 2 nights and stay in Agra is for 1 night. So property is not a single property. The nights bifurcation is given. So 30,000 will be divided into 2:1. I hope this is clear. Next, there is a piece of land of 20,000 square feet which is partly in state S1, say 12,000, and state 2, that is 8,000. You don't need to go ahead. This is a single property case. Whatever the amount is, you have to divide into 12:8. Okay, so basically 3:2. So this is the area bifurcation. Why? Because property is only 1. So you cannot divide on the basis of night stayed. And this is the with respect to the houseboat or vessel. So here the time spent declaration will be given. Let's say 3 days in one state and 2 days in another state. So whatever the total value, you have to divide in the ratio of 3:2. So here you just have to use the information in the question. Let's move ahead. Personalized services. For example, restaurant, catering, personal grooming, fitness. This is 12.4. Beauty treatment, health services, including cosmetic and plastic surgery. If you try to look these diagrams, it will help you, remember things for exam. So restaurant and all these kind of services, beauty treatment, some kind of, whatever the beauty treatments these are, I don't know what she's doing. And this is your health and fitness. So basically personal trainer, gym and fitness. So all these are personalized services. Personalized, that's why we have a separate category. So here the place of supply shall be the location where the services are actually performed. So if the fitness, let's say I'm hiring a personal trainer in a gym located in Pune, regardless of who I am, regardless of who that person is, regardless of if I'm registered or not, the place of supply is going to be Pune. That is your state of Maharashtra. Next, section 12 subsection 5, training and performance appraisal. So basically, let's say I am providing GST training services, I am helping appraisal of performances. Here you have to see B2B or B2C. If B2B, location of the recipient is the place of supply, B2C, location where they are actually performed. So this stands very simple and plain. Admission to events. Now please understand, in section number 12, admission to events and actual event organization are separate. In section number 30, that is a one subsection. Okay. So with respect to admission of events, now what can be admission of events? Events can be any kind of a thing. Let's say there is some exhibition, there is some cultural program, whatever it is, wherever you are paying any kind of entry ticket, that is admission to event. Let's see. Services by way of admission to a cultural, artistic, sporting, scientific, education, entertainment, amusement park, or any place. So you are going to Imagica, right? Or some water park in Lonavala, or some kind of, any kind of event where you are paying entry fee and ancillary services. Now students get confused with respect to what do you mean by ancillary services. I have taken a very simple, easy example. Let's say in that particular Imagica park, there is a 3D show which is going to run. So at entry level, at the entry ticket only, when you are buying the entry ticket, let's say they ask you, are you interested in buying the 3D goggles? Let's say that is of 200 rupees and you say yes. So those are ancillary services with respect to admission of events, right? Okay, so this is clear. 3D goggle sale, it can be anything given in your example. So here the place of supply shall be where the event is actually held or where the park or other place is actually located. So actual place where this money is going to be received, where the admission is going to take place, that will be the place of supply. And with respect to organization of events, this will be bifurcated as per B2B and B2C. First, let's understand what is this particular subsection 7. Organization of event, that is cultural, artistic, sporting, scientific, education, entertainment, fair, exhibition, celebration. Basically, everything with respect to these events is covered here except admission. So whatever the entry fee is being charged, that is 12.6, but organization of event, the person who is providing the service as to, okay, we will help you organize this, everything, that will be under 12.7. Plus ancillary services, example, DJ, lighting, there is some exhibition happening, some decoration happening, whatever it is, or assigning of sponsorship to such events. This is also very, very important. Please mark this point. Sponsorship to events is covered under section 12.7. You have to write it separately. It can be asked in exam. Okay, cover sponsorship. I hope you know the sponsorship meaning. We covered in RCM also. So provided this is not exempt, okay, if sponsorship is exempt, see, basically different chapters that we are covering. In every chapter, we have covered some kind of an aspect, right? First, we have to see whether something is a supply or not. Then we have to see whether the GST is leviable or not. For that, we have to cover chapter number 4. If GST is leviable, then we cover the provisions of RCM or FCM as to who is going to pay tax. Here we are talking about place of supply, because unless the place of supply is clear, we cannot determine whether IGST is going to be levied or CGST, SGST is going to be levied, right? So let's see. Sponsorship. So sponsorship and organization of events, you have to see B2B or B2C. If it is a case of B2B, then it will be the location of the recipient, and here the event location is irrelevant because B2B is the case, location of the recipient is going to be the place of supply. But if it is B2C, then place of supply shall be the place where the event is actually held. Again, just like we studied in our immovable property case, what if this event goes outside India? What if this event is outside India? For example, let's say I'm a wedding planner, okay, and my client is Mr. Anand Ambani. Mr. Anand Ambani, let's say tomorrow he goes and plans a wedding in South Africa. Let's say he's an unregistered person. This is a personal service that he's taking. Now, with respect to me, the service which I am providing, the place of supply shall be where the event is actually held. So that will be South Africa. This will lead to loss of GST to the government. So what government and the GST law provides is that if this event happens to be outside India, then the location of the place of supply shall not be the location of the event, but it shall be the location of the recipient, so that GST is not lost. See, what if event is held outside India? It will lead to GST loss to the government. Then in that case, place of supply shall be the location of recipient. For example, our case Mumbai, that is the location of Anand Ambani. I hope this is clear. Okay. Similarly, like we talked about in immutable property, here also, what if the event is held in more than one state and more than one union territory, and a consolidated amount is charged? Then the place of supply shall be again the respective states or union territories, whichever are involved, in the ratio of terms, as per terms determined in the contract or agreement. But if the contract or agreement is silent, then we have to apply rule number 5, and rule number 5 asks us to apply generally accepted accounting principles, meaning which it is not giving any direct bifurcation basis, unlike in property where we talked about number of nights, area. Here it will be given in question that you have to directly apply the ratio. Okay, whatever ratio is given, you have to apply. Next, section number 12, subsection 8. Transportation of goods including mail or courier. Now please understand, destination of goods is irrelevant. Okay, here we have to see B2B or B2C. If it is a B2B, location of recipient, such person means recipient. And B2C, location at which such goods are handed over for transportation. Now please understand, destination stands irrelevant. Earlier there used to be a proviso which used to say that in case the movement of goods is happening outside India, then the place of supply will be outside India. But that proviso to section number 12 subsection 8 is now amended. It has been deleted. So now you have to see whether it is a B2B case or B2C case, right? In case of B2B, it will be the place of the recipient, that is the registered person. In case of B2C, it shall be the place where the goods are handed over for transportation. Basically, wherever the recipient will say these are the goods for transportation, that place will be the place of supply. I hope this is clear. Passenger transportation, B2B and B2C again. B2B means location of such person, that is your recipient, and B2C will be the place where the passenger embarks on the conveyance for a continuous journey. So basically, with respect to passenger transportation also, we have to see B2B or B2C. If it is a case of B2B, you don't have to analyze anything further. The location of that recipient will be the place of supply. If it is B2C, then we have to see what is that point in which the passenger embarks. Embarks means he is boarding the conveyance for a continuous journey. Now, what do you mean by continuous journey? Continuous journey basically means there is no stopover. And what do you mean by stopover? Stopover means basically he disembarks the conveyance, he takes a break and then he resumes later. So it should be a continuous journey. With respect to the continuous journey, wherever he embarks, let's say I am flying from Delhi to Mumbai, and there is a, let's say, a break of 6 hours. There is a layover of 6 hours, and from Mumbai I further fly to, let's say, you can take any place. Let's say I go to Rajasthan from there. Now, in Mumbai for 6 hours, I left that plane and I boarded another plane after a gap of 6 years. So here from Pune to Mumbai and Mumbai to Rajasthan, this is not a continuous journey because there was a stopover in Mumbai for me where I disembarked and I resumed the journey later. Okay, I hope this is clear. For a continuous journey, it is irrelevant whether one ticket is given or more than one ticket is given at same time or other time. Main focus is no stopover. You can read the definition also, right? Okay. Now, this is a specific case with respect to B2C. If the right to passage is given for future use, okay, future use means the person is going to use the ticket later, and the point of embarkation, because that is my place of supply, it is not known at the time of issue of right to passage. Let's say Vistara gives me a right to passage, that is, you can board any domestic flight in 12 months. Now, when it gave me this kind of a right to passage, it doesn't know what this point of embarkation is going to be, because I also don't know when I'm going to use that particular ticket in next 12 months. So in that case, how will be the place of supply determined, because this point is not known? In that case, in such similar cases, the place of supply shall be determined kind of like what we talked about in default provisions. So it shall be in accordance with the provisions of subsection 2, that is the default provisions, depending on whether address on record exists or not. So if I'm a registered person, see, Please understand, if I'm a registered person, this is irrelevant. Why? Because it will be a case of B2B. But if it is a case of B2C, that means I'm an unregistered person. So now the question stands that whether my address exists on record of Vistara or not. If yes, that will be the place of supply. Otherwise, it will be the location of supplier. I hope this is properly clear. Okay. The return journey is always treated as separate journey, even if the right to passage for onward and return journey is issued at same time. This is just given as a clarification. Let's say I buy Delhi Mumbai and Mumbai Delhi tickets, return tickets at the same time, but obviously Mumbai Delhi will be a separate journey, right? For that, the point of embarkation will be Mumbai. B2B, again, this is irrelevant. Okay. Next, section number 12, subsection 10, services on board a conveyance. Conveyance means it can be vessel, aircraft, train, motor vehicle, any kind of conveyance. If there are some services provided on board a conveyance, example, I buy a movie in a train for which I am paying 500 rupees, let's say. So in that case, the place of supply shall be the first scheduled point of departure of that conveyance for the journey. Similar point we studied in case of goods taken on supplied on board also, that there we talked about wherever they are taken on board. So here also the place of supply shall be the first scheduled point of departure of that conveyance. Again, because it is not possible to determine when those services are supplied, what was the exact place where the conveyance was going on, where it was traveling, right? So let's say I buy a movie in Indigo flight, then we have to see what was the first scheduled point of that flight. If that flight was from, let's say, Delhi to let's say UP, Lucknow, then in that case Delhi will be the first scheduled point of departure, place of supply will be Delhi. Okay. Now telecommunication service, section number 12, subsection 11. This is very, very important. Basically all the telecom related services are covered, mobile recharges are covered, fixed line, internet, cable, all those are covered. Okay, let's start. Type and place of supply. First, fixed telecom line, leased circuits, internet based circuit, cable or dish antenna. Basically here there is some physical structure involved in the picture. So place of supply shall be the location where the line, circuit, antenna is installed. Now you may be having a query that what if that line is running in more than one state, then we will cover a note with respect to that. Next, mobile connections, internet, D2H TV, where it is working on prepaid basis. That is, you have to first pay, then it will work. If that selling by the company is happening through a selling agent or a reseller or a distributor. Now earlier this used to happen that you used to go to a local shop when this Paytm and UPI was not present in India like it is in today's times. And if you used to go and get a prepaid voucher done, like let's say I'm paying 90 rupees and I think I used to pay 55 rupees back in like 5-6 early years before. And we used to get the Airtel prepaid recharge done. If those people are selling agent or resellers of the company or distributor, then the place of supply shall be the address of such agents or resellers, because that will be available on record of the company, Airtel, Vodafone, Jio, whichever companies. If it is happening by any person to final subscriber. Now let's say these persons are not the company authorized agents. These are not company authorized distributors or resellers. So here we have to see the location where such prepayment is received or such vouchers are sold, because the address of the agent and everything is irrelevant here, because these are not company authorized people. We don't have the addresses of these people. So wherever the payment is received or vouchers are sold, let's say tomorrow there is a sale in, let's say, radio job. There is some radio station, some 98.3 FM radio station in Delhi where they sell, let's say, 100 coupons with respect to these kind of vouchers. So wherever this payment is received, this Delhi unit, this Delhi place will be the location, will be the place of supply, because there the payment was received and vouchers are sold. Okay. Through internet banking or any other electronic mode, location of recipient on record of the supplier. So electronic payment is happening, whatever the recipient's location is available, that will be the place of supply. In other cases, basically this is the residual, that whatever is not falling in above clauses, it will be the address of the recipient as per the records of supplier, and if not available, place of supply shall be the location of supplier of services. So this is basically like the default provisions that we studied. Okay, I think one point we left, yes, this one, that what if the mobile connection or internet buying is happening on postpaid basis, right? Postpaid means you use the services during the month and later on the bill is generated. Like for example, I'm using Airtel postpaid, so I'm using the services, later on I pay the bill. In that case, the place of supply shall be the place of billing address of recipient on record of supply. Now let's say tomorrow I have my billing address of Pune, okay, but I'm vacationing in Goa and I pay my bill from Goa. What will be the place of supply? It shall be Pune, because we have to fix the billing address as the place of supply, not Goa. I hope this is clear. So you have to pay attention whether it is postpaid or prepaid. Okay. Where the address of recipient as per records of supplier is not available, place of supplier shall be the location of supplier. Basically, we don't have any other location now. So that we say in Hindi, tir ghuma ke wapas. So we have to bring back the place of supply to the location of the supplier. Now, with respect to this note that we talked about, that if the lease line or that particular lease circuit happens to be in more than one state or union territory, then again, like we talked about in events and immutable property cases, that the place of supply shall be each of the respective states or union territory in the proportion as determined as per the terms of contract agreement. But if it is absent, then we have to apply rule number 6 of IGST. Rule number 4 and 5 we have covered above. This is rule number 6, which talks about bifurcation in proportion of the number of points lying in each such state or UT. So these points are basically our basis of bifurcation. So this will be given in the question. Let's say how many points are there in each particular state. That ratio has to be taken for bifurcation. I will cover the example. Wait a minute. So these are 2-3 examples given. I will quickly cover those. Basically, it will help you clarify the meaning of points. A company T installs a lease circuit between Delhi and Mumbai. Lease circuit means there is a physical circuit. So you have to apply the place of these circuit as the place of supply. So Delhi and Mumbai. So 2 states are involved. Always focus on states, not cities. The starting point of the circuit is in Delhi and end point is in Mumbai. So one point of the circuit is in Delhi and one point is Mumbai. So this is a clear-cut case of 50-50. So 1:1 ratio will be the basis of bifurcation. Next, a company T installs a lease circuit between Chennai, Bangalore and Mysore offices. The starting point of this circuit is in Chennai and end point is in Mysuru. The circuit also connects Bangalore. Hence, one point of this circuit is in Tamil Nadu and 2 points in Karnataka. Karnataka means basically Bangalore and Mysore, and Chennai, that is your Tamil Nadu. Again, I am saying please focus on the states, not the cities, where otherwise your answer will be wrong. So one is in your Tamil Nadu and two happen to be in Karnataka. Okay, so your ratio will be 1:2. So let's say tomorrow the value of this particular service is 3 lakh. So with respect to 1 lakh, the place of supply shall be your Tamil Nadu, and for 2 lakh, it shall be your Karnataka. Okay, so this is again another example given. So you can do that. I think the picture is clear now as to how you need to proceed. Okay, in the case of a circuit between 2 points, the starting point or the place of circuit and the end point or the end point of the circuit will invariably constitute 2 points. This is obvious. The first point and last point will also be 2 points, right? Any intermediate point or place in the circuit will also constitute a point, provided the benefit of the lease circuit is available at that intermediate point. Example, if let's say in Maharashtra, the starting point happens to be in Mumbai and there is another point in Pune. Now in Maharashtra, will this constitute as 2 points or 1 point? For that, we have to see and ask one critical question as to whether benefit is derived in Pune or not. Sometimes the points are given only and only for the purpose of connection basis. No one is actually deriving any benefit from Pune. Hence, we will not give 2 points to Maharashtra state. Otherwise, the place of supply will increase for Maharashtra state, right? So basic provision states that wherever the benefit is derived, that city, that place and that state will get the benefit of place of supply. Okay, so this generally they won't ask in this much detail, but yes, it is given in your material, hence we have to cover it. Okay, so first point and last point, they will always be in the picture. Intermediate points will be there in the picture if you answer this critical question as to benefit of that lease circuit is available at the intermediate point or not. Okay, let's proceed ahead. Section number 12, subsection 12. Banking, financial services and stock brokerages. So here the place of supply shall be the location of recipient on the records of supply. But if it is not available, tir ghuma ke wapas means location of supplier. You may be asking as to, sir, give us some example where in banking also the location of supplier, the location of recipient is not available. Let's say there is a bank branch of HDFC in Pune. I am not a customer of HDFC. Let's say I hold account in ICICI. But there was some need of an immediate demand draft. I took my cash 10,000 rupees to HDFC branch. I paid them 10,000. I got a demand draft made. Let's say I had to pay some fees to the institute. So in this case, HDFC records do not contain my address, right? So in that case, the supplier is HDFC. The location of the place of supply shall also be the HDFC branch because my address does not exist on record. I hope this is clear. Insurance services. In insurance services, it is not possible that location of recipient does not exist because in insurance industry, KYC is so strong that location of recipient will always be available. So see, B2B, location of such person. B2C, location of recipient on records of supplier. So here you will not find a provision which says that if location is not available, what will be the case. If registered, B2B, that registered business and location will be place of supply. Otherwise, location of recipient on the records of supplier of service. I'm an unregistered person. I took an insurance policy from ICICI Lombard. This is a B2C case. Regardless of that, ICICI records do have my location in their records. I hope this is clear. Section number 12, subsection 14. This also proves to be a bit difficult for students, so pay attention. Advertisement services to government, central government, state government, statutory body, local authority. For example, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. This was a scheme of the government. Obviously, a lot of advertisement happens for these kind of schemes, or let's say Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, or let's say any other scheme, or any other, we can say any kind of initiative that governments take. Because unless and until the advertisement happens, people are not going to be aware of these kind of schemes and benefits that exist for the welfare of people. Okay. Here we are talking about the place of supply when supplier, let's say he is providing advertisement services to government. Here we are having a lot of cases. I have made one simple, easy to understand table. This table will contain the basis of bifurcation, because what happens is that generally the government is not going to advertise in one state. It will advertise in 5-6 states. So how to divide that value? The contract value will be one amount, let's say 1 CR. Let's say Modi government, or let's say state government is paying me 1 CR for advertisement of one of the schemes, and that is happening in 5 states. Now how to bifurcate that 1 crore, let's say the total amount I am getting paid, in 5 different states? Because I have to raise the invoices, right? Place of supply is different in each case. That it will be clarified with this table. They haven't asked many questions from this table, but even if they do, you should be able to answer that. Let's do. Okay. So here also, the first preference of division is the terms of contract arrangement. If they are silent, we will apply rule number 3, IGST rules. Rule 4, 5, 6 we have already done. Rule 3 we are starting now. Basis of attribution of place of supply in absence of a contract or arrangement. If advertisement is happening in newspapers and publications, you just have to focus on amounts payable to different state-wise edition. So here the bifurcation is clear in the amounts itself. That for Delhi, with respect to the Delhi jurisdiction, Delhi state edition, we are paying 2 lakh. So with respect to 2 lakh, place of supply will be Delhi. For Mumbai, we are paying 5 lakh. So Maharashtra, 5 lakh rupees place of supply. Okay. Next, I have cut this printed material because printed material is covered in second. What is this happening? Basically, this particular column talks about the type of advertisement, and this column talks about the basis of attribution. Next, advertisement through printed material like pamphlets, leaflets, diaries, calendars. Here also you have to focus on amount payable for distribution. So let's say 2 lakh rupees is being paid for distribution in Delhi. So for 2 lakh place of supply will be in Delhi. Advertisement in hoardings other than trains, because trains we are covering separately. Hoardings, the big hoardings you must be seeing every day, right? So those hoardings, again, you have to distribute on the basis of amount payable. So this amount payable will be clearly given that for Delhi state, we want 5 hoardings, we are paying 2 lakh rupees. So for 2 lakh, the place of supply will be your Delhi. Advertisement on trains, this is important. You have to bifurcate that total amount on the basis of ratio of length of railway track in each of the state or union territory. So if, for example, the advertisement is happening on a train which is running in Delhi and Mumbai, okay? So here the bifurcation will happen on the basis of ratio of length of the railway track, not the railway track. Railway is going to 100% move once in Delhi and then it will go to Bombay. But here you have to focus on track. So out of that track, let's say the ratio comes out to be 6:4. The track, whichever that train is using on which advertisement is happening. So 6:4, that will be your basis of bifurcation. In real life, this 6:4 ratio and this track ratio is determined from the website of www.indianrail.gov.in. Next, advertisements on the back of utility bills of oil gas companies. So whatever bills you get with respect to your utilities, let's say your gas bill, on that also there are sometimes small portions of advertisements. How to determine the place of supply? Amounts payable with respect to the consumers having billing address in each state. Now let's say there are 5 lakh billing addresses of Delhi and 3 lakh of Mumbai, and let's say 8 lakh rupees is the total amount. So 5:3 will be the ratio. So these all points will be given in your exam. You just have to bifurcate. Okay. Advertisement on railway tickets. In that case, you have to use the ratio of number of railway stations in each of the union territory or state, because it is practically impossible to track how many railway tickets are being sold, right? So here you have to focus on the number of railway station. That let's say there are 6 railway station in Delhi and 4 railway station in Mumbai. So 6:4 will be the ratio of division of the amount. Again, this information will be obtained from indianrail.gov.in. Advertisement on radio station, it will be on the basis of amounts payable. Actual location of the studio will be relevant. For example, there is a studio which is located in Haryana, Gurgaon, but that is with respect to the Delhi FM. So for Delhi FM, if someone is paying 2 lakh, that 2 lakh will be for 2 lakh, the place of supply shall be Delhi, not the actual location of the studio, that is Haryana. Okay. Now, first we will cover this, then this, then this, and then 10th. Advertisement in cinema halls. You go to watch a movie, you see some advertisements at the start. There are sometimes government schemes. Place of supply shall be determined as follows: amount payable. So here also clear cut these amounts are decided, that as to for Delhi PVR we are going to pay 5 lakh. For let's say Mumbai Inox we are going to pay 3 lakh. So 5 lakh, for 5 lakh place of supply shall be Delhi. For 3 lakh it will be Maharashtra. I hope this is clear. Okay, now let's come to your point number 7. You will face some problem in this if you don't pay attention, and then 9th and 10th are exactly like 7th. So we will basically be covering 7th only. Advertisement on TV channels. Now understand, the way of bifurcation will be different when we talk about TV channels. Why? Because TV channels means there is nothing concrete in physical form. We don't know how many people are going to watch the TV. We don't know how this information will be spread. So here we need some specific steps. So the foundation concept is that, what is the basis? The basic question that we are asking is, what is the basis of bifurcation? So the basis of bifurcation is your viewership, as to how many people are watching. Because if more people are watching in Delhi, the bifurcation will be like the more amount will be attributed to Delhi state, right? That will get the benefit. Okay. So for that, you have to ascertain the viewership from figures published by Broadcast Audience Research Council. So this is your basic rule, as to you ascertain the viewership from the figures which are published by the Broadcast Audience Research Council. Now obviously, let's say for the month of April 2024, I need the figures, right? Because I have to raise the invoice and I have to complete the process of GST compliances. Now with respect to the April month, the figures are not available. So we have to go in the past. Basically, some past data has to be used for the month of April. So for any quarter, you have to use the figures of last week of preceding quarter. So with respect to current April, let's say I'm talking about in April 2024, this quarter is April, May, June, last quarter is January, February, March. So with respect to the quarter of January, February, March, we have to focus on the last week. So whatever the last week data of viewership is given, that we have to use for the purpose of bifurcation in the month of April. Why? Because sir, April data is not available right now. This data will be published later, after April is over, right? But very important, very easy but important, please understand. If data consists for more than one state or UT, see, GST compliances happen state-wise, GST registration is state-wise, but this council may publish data ignoring these portions. It is not concerned, it has no foundation as to publish the data for every state. Let's say it combines the data of Maharashtra and Delhi. Now how will you bifurcate? We need the data state-wise, but this council does not need the data state-wise. Let's say it publishes the data combining Delhi and Maharashtra. But for GST, we need the bifurcation internally between Delhi and Maharashtra as well. So basically, we will subdivide that particular figure as per the population ratio, which will be available as per census. Now, we have to cover one example because without that example, this particular provision is not going to be clear. Let's talk about the example first. Okay, let's come to this example. Very important. Once this is clear, I'm like 100% sure you won't get any query in this particular topic. ABC issues a release order with QR channel for telecasting an advertisement relating to Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. So this is your government advertisement. Okay, in the month of November. So our month is November. So which quarter? October, November, December. In the first phase, this will be telecast in the union territories of Delhi, UP, Uttarakhand, Bihar and Jharkhand. These 4-5 states are covered, and now we have to determine the place of supply. The place of supply of this service shall be Delhi, UP, Uttarakhand, Bihar and Jharkhand. Obviously each of the state involved, but the question lies as to how will be the bifurcation. The first priority for bifurcation is as per the contract or arrangement. If that is silent, we have to apply rule number 3, what we talked about on the basis of viewership. Please don't get confused. The table, whatever we have studied right now, the table will be applied only and only if the contract arrangement is silent. It is possible that in question and in exam, they won't give you the table related data. They will directly give you the first priority contract arrangement basis value. You just apply that, you calculate the place of supply. Okay. Now, in order to calculate the value of supply with respect to these 5 states, QR, that is the supplier, has to proceed as under. First, ascertain the viewership figures for their channel in the last week of September. Sir, why did you take September? Because right now, just now I told you, go to last quarter and pick, and you have to pick the last week of the last month. So what is the quarter before October, November, December? Sir, the earlier quarter will be July, August, September. What will be the last week? This will be the last week of September. You have to pick viewership data of this particular period. Okay. Let us assume it is 1 lakh for Delhi. Let's write it after this. And 2 lakh for region comprising of UP and Uttarakhand. Now this council figures and the data that we are getting of viewership, it is for UP and Uttarakhand combined. So we will have to further classify this on the basis of population. 2 lakh is UP plus Uttarakhand. And 1 lakh again they have combined for Bihar and Jharkhand. Okay, because the council is under no restriction to give data for each state. It will work as per its own measures and as per its own rules. But GST focuses on state-wise data. So now our task is to divide this into UP and Uttarakhand separately, and this 1 lakh into Bihar and Jharkhand separately on the basis of the population census. Now see, let's say they have given this ratio, assumption ratio is given 9:1 with respect to this particular case. So if you talk about this bifurcation 9:1, then this will be basically 1.8 lakh and 20,000. Similarly, if you talk about the breakup for Bihar and Jharkhand, this is given as 4:1. So it will be 80 and 20,000. 4:1. So basically total 5, 5, 4. So this will be your 80 and 20,000. So what will be my final bifurcation basis? 1 lakh is to 1,80,000 is to 20,000 is to 80,000 is to 20,000. Obviously calculations you can do and you can divide the total into these ratios. For now we have each ratio for each particular state. For that portion the place of supply will be the respective state. Invoices can be raised, place of supply can be determined, inter transaction can be categorized accordingly, right? Okay. Now coming to your point number 9 and point number 10, these are similar to point number 7. There are some minor differences. Let's see. Advertisement on internet. Basically here the service is provided all over India, because internet we don't know who is going to use where. Every person has internet access all over India. So here the bifurcation will be on the basis of internet subscribers. It is just like 7 with following differences. Instead of the council data, you have to take the data of TRAI, that is your Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, and for each financial year figures of last quarter of the financial year to be used, because here the quarterly data is not available. As simple as that, this data will be given in your question. And in case of SMS advertisement, this is not used prevalently in today's times, but yeah, if it is an SMS case, then you have to bifurcate on the basis of telecom subscribers. This is also just like point number 7 with 2 differences. Data of TRAI instead of the Research Council, and for given quarter figures of last quarter are to be used. Not the last week but last quarter. Why? Because sir, data of TRAI is available like this only with respect to telecom subscribers. With respect to internet, it is available on the basis of financial year. With respect to viewership and television channel, it is available on the basis of quarter and weekly. So this data will be given in your question. You don't need to learn this. You just need to have an idea of how the steps will run. Okay. Now section number 12 is done. Now we are proceeding with section number 13. Section number 13 talks about the place of supply of services when location of supplier or recipient is outside India. If it is and, that is both are outside India, GST law is not concerned. We are not going to talk about it because the transaction is not happening in India. Okay, when we talk about one person being outside India, then here we are not going to use the terms as B2B or B2C because that is relevant when both are in India. So applicability is clear. Default provisions. Default provisions means where specific subsections won't apply, that is subsection 3 to 13. In section 12, specific subsections were 3 to 14. Here it is 3 to 13. So let's talk about first default provisions. Place of supply will be location of recipient. If it is not available in ordinary course of business, here घुमा के वापस means the place of supply shall be the location of supplier. So first see if location of recipient is available, that will be the place of supply. If not, it will be the location of supplier. Next, section number 13, subsection 3, performance based services. First we'll talk about goods, then we will talk about services. Let's start. Whatever the performance based services are happening, place of supply shall be the place where they are actually performed, but this also has certain exceptions in it. Let's see. Services which are supplied in respect of goods which are required to be made physically available. That's why we are talking performance based services. These are required to be made physically available by the recipient to the supplier or any person acting on behalf of supplier. Let's say this is a good. Okay. There is some repair happening. Now tell me, can repair on this mouse happen unless this particular device is made physically available to the supplier or someone who is acting on behalf of the supplier? Let's say I am getting the task done from someone. So in these cases, we will term these as performance based services. Another example, warehousing. So warehousing cannot happen unless the goods are there, right? What will you warehouse? So in such cases, place of supply shall be the location of location where the services are actually performed. Example, where that warehouse is located. Okay, so here you will not see, you will not focus on the location of the recipient or anything like that. Now, two exceptions to this particular case. Two exceptions means in these two cases, the place of supply won't be the location of services. Why? See, the general rule with respect to this subsection 3 is that see where the services are performed. When I say exception, exception means it will not be the location of services. Okay, see, if services are performed from a remote location by way of electronic means, let's say I'm getting my iPad repaired from an engineer in US. What is the place of actual performance of service? It is US, right? Because the service of repair is happening in US. He is the person who is giving the service. So ideally, if this was not an exception and the general rule would have applied, that is the location where the services are actually performed, the place of supply would have been US. But now here the place of supply shall be the location where goods are situated at the time of supply of services. So my iPad currently is in Pune. Engineer is providing repair service from US. Place of supply shall be Pune because the goods were situated in Pune at the time of supply of service. Next, if there are certain services supplied in respect of goods which are temporarily imported in India for some repair, treatment or process. Treatment means let's say some kind of a job work or whatever it is, and they are exported after such repairs or treatment or process without being put to use in India other than that which is required for repair, treatment or process. Basically what is happening, I am providing some kind of a repair service. I am an expert mechanic in some expert, repair person in some kind of a device. A US person is getting this service from me. I import the goods for the purpose of repair. I repair and perform the service of repair, and I export the goods post repair. I do not put the goods to use in India unless some use is required for the purpose of repair. Let's say for the purpose of testing. So here the benefit isn't derived in India. No sir, benefit will be derived outside India because as soon as the repair is done, the goods are being exported outside India. So if the general rule applies, that is location where services are actually performed, the place of supply would have been India. But because the actual benefit is outside India, here it shall be the location of recipient, and if not available, then the location of supplier. So basically it is an exception to this particular rule. So these both are also performance based services, but here separate rule is applied, not the location where the services are actually performed. Okay, now performance based services with respect to basically some services instead of something with respect to goods. If there are services supplied to an individual represented either as the recipient or person acting on behalf of recipient where physical presence of the person is required. So basically these are performance based services, right? So physical presence is required. Okay, here physical presence is required. Now example, there is some beauty makeup something happening. Now for makeup, that person, the recipient, needs to be there for the purpose of providing service. I cannot provide that on remote basis, right? I cannot do it on digital means. The person needs to be there. Physical presence of the person is required. Or let's say you may have a query that what do you mean by, sir, person acting on its behalf? Let's say I have contracted with respect to makeup service or some beauty treatment with a modeling agency, and the actual recipient of the service are the models which are going to go on some kind of a pageant show. So in that case, actual recipient is someone else. So the contract and the under GST is the recipient who pays the consideration. The modeling agency is going to pay the consideration, but actual person who is going to get the services are those models. Hence, we have used these words, or person acting on recipient's behalf. Okay, so surgery, security, makeup, all these are services with respect to which personal physical presence is required. Here, the place of supply shall be the location where services are performed. So this was our first point. These were two exceptions for goods. These were two exceptions with respect to goods. And with respect to services, this was our point number B. Now there was one specific note, come clarification. In case of cutting and polishing activity on unpolished diamonds which are temporarily imported into India and not put to use in India, place of supply shall be as per 13 subsection 2. So here we can say this is being applicable just like this, because in 13.2 we see the location of a recipient, if not available, location of supplier. Okay, so here we are not focusing on the place where the services are actually performed. That is not relevant. Okay, so 13.3 is done. 13.4 immovable property. This is just like 12 subsection 3. That is, whatever the services are performed with respect to property, the place of supply shall be the location or intended location of the property. Next, 13 subsection 5. Admission plus organization of events. In section 12 that we covered with respect to supplier and recipient in India, these were bifurcated into separate 6 and 7. That is, organization of event was separate. Basically, first we talked about admission to events. Second, we talked about organization of events. Here it is one and the same thing. Along with the ancillary services, this can be anything: sports, education, celebration, fair, any kind of event. So here, place of supply shall be the place where the event is actually held. We don't cover B2B, B2C cases in section number 30. So wherever it is actually held, that will be the place of supply. Now, section 13.6 and 13.7 are linked to 3, 4 and 5. 3 was basically performance based service. Subsection 4 was with respect to property. Subsection 6 was with respect to events. 6 and 7 apply with respect to above 3. Let's see what subsection 6 says. If any of the services of subsection 3, 4, 5 are supplied in more than one location, including a location in taxable territory, that is India. If above services 3, 4, 5 are covered in more than one location, among which one is in India. I'm not talking about state, I'm talking about country level. If let's say 5% of the services are performed in India, 95% happen to be outside India, still the entire service, it will be assumed, and the place of supply shall be taken as location in taxable territory. So even if there is 1% involvement in India, the entire place of supply with respect to the entire contract, entire transaction will be in taxable territory. Example, if service is in Mumbai, NY, New York and Dubai, ignore what is the percentage. Even if this is 1%, the place of supply of this particular service shall be Mumbai. I'm not talking about states, I'm talking about country level. Hope this is clear. Subsection 7. What if any of the services are performed in more than one state? Now subsection 7 talks about state, that everything is happening in India but more than one state, and GST talks about state-wise details. So again, like we talked about in our section number 12, that first priority bifurcation in each respective state or union territory as per the proportion which is decided in the terms of the contract or arrangement. If not, in the absence, we have to apply certain rules. For performance-based services, for immovable property, and for 13.5. Let's talk about it. With respect to 13.3, performance-based services, we have to see these 3 cases. Let's do one thing. Before 13.3, let's talk about these 2, because this we have to cover. This is new. This is not something new, right? Basically, what are we talking about is that 13.3, 13.4 and 13.5. 13.3 was with respect to performance-based service. 13.4 was immutable property. 13.5 was organization and admission to events. If these are happening in more than one state, then how to deal with the bifurcation, how to decide the place of supply if contract arrangement are silent, right? So let's talk about immutable property 13.4. So here we have to apply rule number 8 of IGST rules, and rule number 8 does not say anything new. It asks us to apply rule number 4 that we have already covered in section 12 subsection 3. If you remember, we talked about bifurcation on the basis of number of nights if it is not a single property, otherwise area location, otherwise if it is a houseboat on the basis of time spent. I hope you are able to remember this particular rule number 4. So rule 8 talks nothing new. It uses the same rule that we talked about in section number 12. Similarly, with respect to events, we have to apply rule 9, but rule 9 does not talk about anything new. It asks us to apply rule 5 that we already covered in 12.7, and rule 5 had talked about applying gap. Gap means generally accepted accounting principles. These ratios will be given in your question. So this is nothing important. Focus is on this because here something new is going to come. With respect to performance-based services under section 13, means supplier or recipient is outside India. See, if this service is with respect to same goods, if it is with respect to same goods, you have to divide it equally in each state. We will cover the example, please wait. If it is different goods, for example, different car servicing is being provided, then you have to see the ratio of the invoice value. Okay, and if it is not related to goods, if it is some performance-based related to services to individuals, like for example security, makeup service, then apply gap. So again, this will be given in question because these are general accounting principles. Let's cover examples with respect to these 2 points because this is testable in your exam. 13.3 example C, example number 75 and 76. A company C, which is located in Kolkata, is providing services of testing of dredging machine, and testing service on the machine is carried out in Odisha and Andhra Pradesh. Two states are Odisha and Andhra Pradesh. Now tell me one thing, this testing service, is it being provided on different goods? Answer is no. The machine is same. The place of supply is in Odisha and Andhra Pradesh, and value of service will be ascertained by dividing value equally 1:1. Because the machine is same, there are not like that. This is not a case of two different machines. So same service testing provided in two states, and 1:1 you have to apply because place of supply shall be in each of the states. Now you can relate what I have written here. Divide equally. So if there are 3 states, 1:1. Now if different goods, ratio of invoice value, let's see this. This is actually pretty simple. You just need to cover an example for it. So basically the goods are different, so we have to apply the invoice value of goods. See this. A company C located in Delhi is providing the service of servicing 2 cars belonging to one person, Mr. X. Recipient is one, but cars are different. One is of manufacturer J, located in Delhi, serviced by Delhi workshop. Other car is of manufacturer A, located in Gurugram, serviced by Gurugram workshop. So one amount is being charged, let's say 5 lakh rupees. Okay, but cars are 2, recipient is 1, supplier is 1, cars are 2, and one is happening in Haryana state, one is happening in Delhi state. Now how to divide this 5 lakh? You have to use the invoice value of cars. Invoice value of cars. Hope this is clear. Okay, so you have to note that you have to use the invoice value of cars. So goods basically. So if let's say one car is of 5 lakh, another car is of 3 lakh. So 5:3 will be the ratio of dividing that service value. If the service value is already different, let's say Delhi workshop has a value of 80,000 for its servicing and Gurugram workshop has a different value, this question won't arise as to bifurcation, right? This bifurcation and this issue arises when there is one value to be bifurcated in more than one place of supply, and we have to use these kind of provisions because the contract arrangement was silent. I hope this is clear. Let's move to our next part. Subsection 8, section 13, subsection 8. Here we are going to cover 3 services in which the place of supply shall be the location of supplier of services. 3 services. Okay. First, services by a banking company, financial institution, or NBFC to account holders. What do you mean by account holders? Just the normal account holders that we understand in the common basic sense, that we hold account in a bank and we get some interest in it. NRO, NRA account holders are also covered here. So in this case, the place of supply shall be the location of the supplier of service, that is these financial institutions. Next, intermediary services. Intermediary basically means kind of an agent who is providing services or who is kind of connecting a buyer with the seller. So with respect to the intermediary services and with respect to the commission that he is going to charge, for that the place of supply shall be the location of intermediary. Next, services consisting of hiring of means of transport. Now this is important, you have to focus, and then we will focus on these pictures. Pictures are basically there to ensure that you learn things for a longer period of time. So which means of transport are we talking about? Every means of transport including yachts. So yachts are also covered, but we are excluding aircraft and we are excluding vessels. So with respect to aircraft and with respect to vessels, we have to apply the default provisions. Okay. So all the means of transport, car, everything, including yachts, but aircraft and vessels have to be excluded, and the coverage will be under section 13 subsection 8 if this hiring is up to a period of 1 month. Basically, you are taking these vehicles, this yacht on rent. You are hiring it and you are paying some rental amount. But cross aircraft and vessels have to be crossed. Yachts, basically these are the yachts and these are the vessels. So you have to differentiate and you have to see which word has been used in the question paper. Okay. So with respect to aircraft vessels, we have to apply the normal default provisions that happen to be under section number 13 subsection 2. Section number 13 subsection 9, goods transport service, this has been omitted. So the specific subsection has been omitted. It means with respect to the goods transport, you have to apply the default provisions of 13.2. Passenger transport and services on board a conveyance. Passenger transport service, the place of supply shall be place where the passenger embarks on the conveyance for a continuous journey. In section number 13, we don't see B2B or B2C. So similar provision existed in our section number 12 when we talked about B2C. But here, since there is no concept of B2B, directly we have to learn this provision. Services on board a conveyance, this is like section number 12, that place of supply shall be the first scheduled point of departure of that conveyance. So if, for example, a flight is running from, let's say, Delhi to Singapore, then all the services provided on board the conveyance for which a separate consideration has been charged, for that the place of supply shall be Delhi, because that was my first scheduled point of departure. Now let's talk about OIDAR services. OIDAR you already know, we have already discussed. Basically these are the services which cannot be delivered, which cannot be supplied without the use of IT. For example, online or downloading of a book, or let's say these online classes, these are also kind of an OIDAR service. But when we talk about it with reference to section number 13, it means one person is outside India. Okay, so let's say the supplier is outside India. I am sitting in Pune, Maharashtra. I am using some kind of an online manual from a, let's say, a UK publisher. So here the provision says that the place of supply shall be the location of recipient. So that is India, provided out of these given conditions, any two are satisfied. Point to be noted, out of these specified conditions, any two conditions, if they are specified, the place of supply shall be the location of recipient. Okay, let's see. OIDAR service, place of supply shall be the location of recipient of service because it is difficult to determine as it is accessed online. Now this is difficult, that's why we have to give certain set of conditions and we have to say if any two are complied. Okay, let's see. Person receiving such services shall be deemed to be located in the taxable territory India if any two of the following non-contradictory conditions. Non-contradictory means if any two conditions are satisfied but they happen to be clashing with each other, that is practically it is impossible that these two are complied, then we will not say that taxable territory India is the place of supply. Okay, these are basically all the conditions which say that somehow they prove the location of recipient to be in India. See, location of address presented by recipient through internet is in taxable territory. Let's say while registering for some online manual through a UK publisher, I have provided the address of Pune, Maharashtra. So that is the case. Credit card, debit card, it has been issued in the taxable territory. Let's say I'm using my HDFC card. Billing address is in taxable territory. Internet protocol address through which I access this online book is in India. Bank of the recipient for which payment is used is in India. Let's say the HDFC bank which I used. Country code of the subscriber identity module card. Let's say I'm using some kind of a mobile number, some kind of a card which has the +91 country code. So that shows I'm in India. The location of the fixed landline through which service are received is in taxable territory. Normally this is not used in today's time, but yeah, theoretically you have to learn. So focus that any two should be satisfied, then it shall be assumed as in India. Notified services, this is not very important. Basically to prevent double taxation or non-taxation, government can say that ignoring everything for notified supplies, we will say the place of supply will be that location where the actual use of resources is happening, the service is actually enjoyed. With respect to that, you have to cover just three points. These 3 points are not very relevant from your exam point of view, but let's see. Certain R&D services are given with respect to pharmaceutical sector. Now they have given the entire list of services in your study material. That is not required to be learned because it is a 4 pages list. Main point with respect to that is that with respect to these R&D services, different kinds of services provided by a person in taxable territory to a person in non-taxable territory. So from India to outside India, the place of supply shall be the location of recipient of services provided. Supply should happen as per the contract between them, that is legally it is happening, and all the conditions of export of service that we talked about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are complied with, except that the place of supply is outside India. Naturally, in such cases, place of supply will also be outside India, but due to some reason the place of supply does not happen to be outside India, let's say some specific subsection is applied, then regardless of that, it will be considered as the location of recipient of service, ignoring what is the actual place of supply. I hope this is clear. This is not very big. This is not very technical to be understood. You just need to focus that it should happen as per contract, and in such cases, the place of supply shall be the location of recipient. Nothing else to be understood. Similarly, B2B MRO. MRO basically means maintenance, repair, overhaul. So B2B MRO services of aircraft or aircraft engine components, parts in course or furtherance of business. So someone is in this kind of a line of business where he is providing the repair services. Place of supply shall be location of recipient of service. So let's say I am a technician, I am providing these kind of services, repair services with respect to aircraft, and let's say I am providing this to Singapore Airlines, which is based out of Singapore. So Singapore will be the place of supply. Okay. Similarly, B2B with respect to ships and vessels and their engines, aircraft, then again location of recipient. So these both are essentially same. Here aircraft is being talked about, here vessels and ships are being talked about. So this is something that you just need to understand in a very basic level. Testability is not very high. Okay, now let's cover 2 clarifications that were issued. First, with respect to cargo handling services provided by ports to clients. So various ports, they provide cargo handling services to the clients. Obviously, they are going to charge something for it. Along with this cargo handling services, there are certain services which are related to the wagon. Wagons means the kind of the structure that you are able to see here. This may seem to be like of an immovable property. If you search it on Google, it will look something like this, right? If you search wagon at ports, so it may, the question arose as to whether the services with respect to these wagons, like arrival of wagons at port, haulage of wagons inside the port up area, siding of these things, unloading, movement, etc. Is this something which is linked to an immovable property? So basically the question was that which place of supply section should we apply, whether we have to apply the one which is specific to immovable property or you have to apply with respect to the cargo handling service. So the clarification was that such services are ancillary to cargo handling services and not related to immovable property. And for cargo handling service, do we have any specific subsection? No, neither in section number 12 nor in section number 13. So basically default provisions 12.2 or 13.2 will apply depending upon the location of supplier and recipient. Except this, you don't have to do anything else. Next clarification is with respect to ESDM industry, that is electronics, semiconductor and design manufacturing. The backdrop and the process of what actually happens is a bit in detail given. We have covered that in the flowchart form so that it is easy to understand, but the main point with respect to GST is covered in these last 2 paragraphs. But for understanding that, we have to just go through this flowchart once. Paper point of view, you need to focus more on this particular last points. Let's see what happens in this ESDM industry. Let's say this is an ESDM, means semiconductor and design manufacturing company in India. Let's say this is a country, this is a company known as Wipro in India. Now, it has certain foreign clients. So what happens is that the foreign clients will provide the Wipro company design requirements and intellectual property blocks, reusable units of software, logic and design layouts that can be combined to form newer designs. We can say basically some resources are being given to Wipro on the basis of which Wipro is going to develop something and provide it to the foreign customer. Let's see. This company Wipro is engaged in the process of developing software and designing the integrated circuits electronically for which it required this kind of the resources which were provided by the client. After that, Wipro communicates abroad, digitally integrates, basically it digitally integrates the various IP blocks which were provided to develop the software and the silicon or hardware design. So what needs to be done, how the hardware design will look like, how the software development will take place, that work is done by Wipro, and for that the IP blocks and the material that is required. See, we don't need to go into the details of the industry. We don't need to understand the technical terms. Here you just need to understand some raw material is being provided, work is being done, and it is then provided back to the foreign customers. Now, this exact communication by Wipro, it will either happen to the customer, that is the foreign client, or it will happen to the manufacturing facility for the hardware. The foreign client may say that once the work is done, don't provide back the blocks that you have formed, the hardware designs that you have formed, don't give it back to us, communicate it to the actual manufacturer in China who is going to work for us. Okay, now samples of such prototype hardware. Now what will happen? Manufacturing will happen. On the basis of the designs given by Wipro, manufacturing is going to take place. Now, basically after manufacturing is done, it is not the case that the client is going to go for the 100% manufacturing right now. He will go for certain prototypes. What will happen next? The prototypes will be sent back to Wipro. Why? The foreign client will say that Wipro, you have developed the designs, I am sending you the prototypes, just do the testing once, give us a go ahead, give us a green signal that this prototype is as per your design, so that we can go for complete production of the order. Otherwise, it may happen that we complete the production, but the design itself, the prototype has some flaw, or the manufacturer is screwing up in some manner. So you just give us a go ahead on the basis of testing of the prototype, right? Okay, now the samples of such prototype hardware are then provided back to the Indian company, that is Wipro, to test and validate the software and design that has been developed to ensure that it is error free. This is basically the green signal given by Wipro. Now, main question comes, this is the issue which arose, whether provision of hardware prototypes and samples and testing thereon lends these services the character of performance-based services in respect of goods required to be made physically available by the recipient to the provider. Basically, we are talking about when the Wipro goes for this testing of the prototypes, do we invoke section number 13 subsection 3 that we talked about, performance-based services? Why 13 and why not 12? Because the client is outside India. Okay, so do we invoke section number 13 subsection 3? Answer is no. Why? See, in general, it is a performance-based service, but guys, please understand, this is the case of composite supply. The testing was not the whole and sole service which was given by the Wipro. The main service was this service which was given, and then the testing was ancillary in nature. So for testing, we don't need to identify a separate place of supply section. This is my main place of supply section. This is ancillary. So whatever provisions we apply for the main service, testing will be covered in that. And for this particular main service, we have to apply the default provisions 13 subsection 2. Okay, see. It is observed that in contracts where service provider is involved in composite supply of software development and design of these circuits electronically, then the testing which is happening on the prototypes is ancillary supply. Testing is not something which is done on its own. It does not retain the character of an independent supply. It is ancillary to the main supply, that was this. The testing was done only for the purpose of satisfaction of the foreign client that is asking that, just check it once. If it is okay, then we will go for the 100% production. So this testing is aimed at improving the quality of the software, whereas chip design, software development, that is this part, this is the principal supply. Hence, service provider is not involved in software testing alone. The entire activity has to be viewed as one supply. Hence, we will apply 13.2, not 13.3a. That was your performance-based services. Okay, now with respect to this section number 13 subsection 8, that is this one, intermediary services, a circular came which provided certain guidelines as to how to identify whether this is an intermediary service involvement or not. So these are general points that you need to understand, not something very technical. Minimum of 3 parties. Obviously, there is one buyer, there is one seller, and there is an intermediary. two distinct supplies. One is between the buyer and seller, that is the principal supply. One is the intermediary services. Intermediary is charging commission from both the parties, not on own account. Intermediary is doing something on behalf of the principal, on behalf of the recipient. He is not doing anything on its own. And next, subcontracting is not an intermediary service because subcontractor provides the main supply itself. Now please understand this particular point. I will take an example to ensure it is crystal clear. What did I say? The statement we passed is that subcontracting is not an intermediary. Correct? Now let's try to understand and decode what this means. See, what is subcontracting? Let's say this is one person, Mr. A, and this is one person, Mr. B. A gave an contract to B with respect to AC servicing. Okay, let's say 100 AC servicing was to be done, 100 units of AC were to be serviced. B calls up, and because B feels that I cannot alone do servicing of 100 units, it is practically impossible, I have shortage of labor. So let's say tomorrow B calls Mr. Ramesh. B calls Mr. Ramesh and says that I am subcontracting you work with respect to AC servicing of 60 units. I will do 40 and you do 60. So here subcontracting is happening. Now tell me logically, do you feel this person is an agent of B? Or do you feel this is an agent of A? Answer is no. This supply, basically now Ramesh is going to do servicing of 60 units for Mr. A. Okay, he will get payment from Mr. B and A will pay to Mr. B. I hope this is clear. A is going to pay for 100 units to B. B will pay with respect to 60 units to Ramesh at whatever the agreed rate is. Do you think Mr. Ramesh is an agent? Answer is no. This is a principal to principal supply. This, or rather I should say, basically this is the service which is being given to A, but this principal to principal supply is between B and Ramesh because Ramesh is working for B. Ramesh is working for B. And what is that work? AC servicing of Mr. A. A is the customer of B. But whatever it is, this principal to principal supply is between B and Ramesh, and this is not an agency service, right? We cannot say that he is an intermediary. So this is very obvious. This is very obvious. So this is not an intermediary. You are not going to apply section number 13.8 here. You will apply the normal default provisions. Okay, another clarification came in with respect to the advertising sector, and this has been tested in your RTP as well. If I'm not wrong, RTP for May 24 also consists of one question with respect to the advertising sector. So let's try to understand. Okay, so basically here two kinds of relationships are being talked about. First, vendor and advertising company. Vendor is the person who is holding rights with respect to the hoardings. Okay, the hoardings that you see. And second is between the advertising company and client. Let's say the client happens to be Burger King, because we are seeing the Burger King ad here. And let's say the advertising company is White River Media. This is a very big company. So White River Media. Let's try to understand it practically. See, whenever let's say the Burger King calls WRM and asks about the advertising services, now once the advertising contract is done, this WRM, it doesn't have its own hoardings, right? It will contact the vendor. You must have seen the ads that for this space call this advertising. So basically whichever the vendor is given. So this WRM is going to contact that vendor for the purpose of showing off ads of Burger King. Hope this is clear. Now, there are two kinds of supply of services that take place in this industry. Case number one, supply of space or rights to use the space on hoarding structure or billboards. In this case, basically what is happening, the vendor says to White Rivers Media that we are giving you the rights to the space. You have, let's say, the right to this particular billboard located at this particular location in Mumbai for next 90 days. So this is the case where the place of supply will be determined as per section 12 subsection 3. Why? Because that hoarding, that billboard constitutes an immovable property. It is not movable. It is fairly fixed to the ground, to the earth. So here we have to apply the concept of section number 12 subsection 3. So understand, the hoarding or the structure which is erected on land, it is an immovable property as it is embedded on the earth. So place of supply will be as per 12.3 and location where such hoarding or structure is located. I hope this is clear. Here we are talking about White River Media and the vendor. Point to be noted, between White River Media and the client, the normal advertising default provisions are going to apply. 12 to or 13.2. The place of supply and the analysis is happening between these two. Okay, this is our supply number 1, this is our supply number 2. Now next case, if the vendor says that we are not giving you the rights, you tell us what you need the Burger King ad, we will run it. We will retain the rights, you just tell us what you want. So in this case, the actual, you can say that the right over the immovable property is not transferred. The entire control is retained by the vendor. In that case, we have to apply default provisions because there is no link of immovable property per se. Okay, now see, if there is no sale of space or rights, vendor is responsible for display of advertisement of the advertising company's client. Example, in our case, Burger King. Now the vendor is in possession of the structure and advertising company is not occupying the space. Now you have to apply default provisions. Place of supply, I have clarified this. The place of supply that we talked about right now. The place of supply with respect to supply of advertising services by the advertising company, that is WRM, to its client, let's say Burger King. For example, the Burger King in this case, it would be determined by the provisions of 12.2 only, that are your default provisions. I hope this concept is absolutely clear. Okay, now we are moving to our last stage. Basically, intra, we are going to talk about section number 7 and section number 8. These are of IGST. Okay, section 7 of your CGST was supply. I hope you remember that. Supply of goods services, you already know this. Supply shall be an interstate supply when the location and place of supply. So basically the determining factors is location of supplier and place of supply. Recipient location is completely irrelevant. Hope this is clear. Okay, so when the location of supplier and place of supply are in two different states, two different union territories, or one state and one union territory, basically same is not there. Imports are always considered as interstate supply. So if goods are imported, basically there is another query that comes in. Let's clarify it once. Import of goods, is it the GST which is paid on the import of goods, is it RCM? Answer is no. The entire concept and the entire machinery, basically the entire issue of import of goods is handed over to the customs law. If you remember the proviso that we talked about in IGST charging section. So the recipient is paying IGST, but that is not RCM, okay, because it is being charged under the Customs Act. So import export, it is considered as interstate. So import into the territory of India of goods till they cross the custom frontiers is also interstate supply. Similarly, services, import of services is also interstate supply. Following shall also be considered as an interstate supply. What? When the supplier is located in India and place of supply is outside India. This is my export of services. To or by. To or by means if the services or goods are provided to or they are provided by SEZ developer or SEZ unit. You have to mark this point very, very carefully. SEZ, what do you mean by SEZ? Special economic zones. These are considered as not a part of India. I have given a note below, but I am writing it again. These are considered as not a part of India. Just ensure that this point is properly clear. So whatever is supplied to them or whatever they are supplying, that is covered under interstate supply. Plus, this is a residuary clause that if something is not classifiable anywhere, it is interstate supply. Okay, general note I have covered. Okay, let's see this small example. Supply by a unit in SEZ Noida UP to a person outside SEZ in Lucknow UP. If you see the state is same, but the supplier is in SEZ, recipient is not in SEZ, it will be considered as an interstate supplier regardless of the fact that they are in the same state of UP. Intrastate is completely opposite of section number 7. So intrastate means location of supplier and place of supply are in same states or same union territories. Apart from that, this is one small point that you need to understand, but this is not very relevant. Supply of goods to a tourist made under section number 15 is an interstate supply, not intra. What do you mean by tourist? Tourist means basically a person who is coming to India for legitimate non-immigrant. Non-immigrant means he is not coming here for the purpose of settling in India for the purpose of taking the citizenship. He is coming for holiday or some kind of a work which is not exceeding 6 months. That is the meaning of tourist. Okay. In section number 15, we also study one thing that I will cover here itself, that whatever the taxes this person pays, that is refunded to the tourist. Why? Because the tourist is going to take the goods outside India. Right, but the procedure for refund of such kind of taxes to a tourist is not specified yet. So that is kind of, we can say that provision of refund exists only in law, not in practicality. Okay, so basically whatever is given to a tourist in question, if you see anything supplied to a tourist, you also always have to apply IGST. Then there is this meaning of section number under section number 8 explanation, the meaning of establishments of distinct persons. This is one of the conditions that we talked about in export of services, that for export of services, the recipient and supplier should not be merely establishments of the same person. See, one establishment in India, any other establishment outside India. So one unit in India, one unit outside India. Establishment in one state and any other establishment outside that state. So these are also of the same person because the ownership is same. Establishment in state or any other establishment within that state, but provided it is registered. You can link this to section number 25.4 and 25.5. This is 25.4 and this is 25.5. That is the same thing that is happening, and this is with respect to outside India. So basically ownership is same, one in India, one in outside India, one in one state, another in another state, one in one state, another. If it is in that state, it has to be registered. Okay. Now, section number 9, supply in territorial waters. Territorial waters means up to 12 nautical miles from the baseline of the India, the coastline of the India. Now, let's say a person is supplying something from the territorial waters of India. Is it a supply? Answer is yes. Why? Because territorial waters of India are a part of the taxable territory of India. So, GST is applicable. Now, he is asking you a question, sir, where do I get registered? Where do I get registered? What will be the state which will be considered from which I am doing this kind of a supply, because I am sitting in water. Basically, the person is supplying from water. So in that case, what will be considered as the location? Which state will be considered as the location? So we have to see the nearest coastal state or union territory. So if it happens to be near Mumbai, then Mumbai will be the state. See, when the location of supplier or place of supply is in TWI, because these two terms are only relevant for deciding and concluding the nature of transaction. So here deeming provision will kick in as to these location or place of supply shall be deemed to be the coastal state or UT where the nearest point of the appropriate baseline is located. Nearest point will be given in the question. Last part, section number 14A, it was newly inserted with respect to online money gaming in India. Okay, so if it is provided by a person outside India to a person in India, basically the section 14A says that this person has to come in India and pay IGST on it. And if he has some representative in India, that person can pay. If he has no physical presence and there is no representative, he has to appoint the person to ensure the compliances take place with respect to everything of GST. You can just give it a read. One important point to be noted with respect to section number 14A. The person that is going to pay IGST, he has to get registered in India, right? That is clear, because without registration, he is not going to pay IGST. For the purpose of registration, he is going to be registered in a simplified registration scheme. Simplified registration scheme. So this is basically not related to any state. So in his registration, there is no state. He is registered all over India. Okay, so this is basically a simplified registration scheme and single registration is obtained. That is not state specific. Now let's see. Supplier of online money gaming not in taxable territory. If he is providing online money gaming, he is liable to pay IGST. Supplier shall obtain single registration under simplified registration scheme under 14.2. 14.2, the one we talked about was OIDAR. So in OIDAR also similar provisions exist, simplified registration. So same provisions have been made applicable to this person. However, any person located in taxable territory representing such supplier for any purpose in taxable territory shall get registered and pay IGST on his behalf. So then he doesn't have to come, his representative will get registered. But if that supplier does not have physical presence, nor does he have any representative, then he has to appoint someone and that person shall be responsible for paying tax. Now he says that what if I don't pay tax? He says, what if I don't pay tax? Then what will our government do? Whatever the information and IT resources he is having, that information will be blocked for public access regardless of what our IT Act 2000 says. Okay, so basically the information is an intellectual property for that person. If that gets blocked for public, then obviously his situation will be compromised and that will impact his business. So basically that is a way to ensure that he compliances with these provisions. With that, we have covered the entire chapter of place of supply. I hope this revision was extremely useful for you. If you genuinely like the content, ensure you are liking and commenting. It helps me to reach more students. And yes, I'm going to upload further videos also. So let that act as a motivation for me to provide more resources in complete English language for all of you. Right? So all the very best. Study well. Take care. Be safe. Bye-bye.